Hi, everybody. I hope that you're super excited. I have 5 minutes to convince you that we can turn this into this. So basically, what I'm going to introduce is the concept of like signed digital identities. So in the world, you can find a lot of digital identity programs, and usually like you will find them in the form of like a signed identity document. Usually it looks like something like that. So you have like the government. Here it's Alice, and the identity of Alice is like represented as a concatenation of some attributes: her name, her date of birth, her address. Then we hash all these attributes and we sign them. So the government uses his own private key to sign them. Then he puts it into a passport, into like a card, or in the form of like an NFC chip or a QR code. And so basically, Bob, the verifier, needs the signature, the message, and the public key that is publicly published on the government website to verify the signature. So that's great. That's what how things are processed like at the border, basically. But the thing is that if Bob wants to know more about Alice, like if he wants to like know if she's more than 18 years old, for example, then Alice would have like to disclose her whole identity. So how can we solve that? We can solve that actually using zk-snark. So I'm not going to introduce zk-snark, but basically like you can set some inputs of a function as a private. And in that case, we are using zk-snark to like, in our same verification process, we are now hiding the signature and the message. So now we have like a way to verify the signature that is inside your identity document in a privacy enhancing way. And we are now able like to access some data inside of Snarkland and extract it and then selectively disclose. So I can set a prover and say, hey, I want to like extract the date of birth and compute like something such as like is the age super to 21. And then Bob, the verifier, now just only need like a snark proof and to get the public key of the government to verify this proof. So now let's talk to AnonAadhaar, the project we are working on. So AnonAadhaar is applied to Aadhaar. Aadhaar is the biggest identity program in the world with like 1.2 billion people having an Aadhaar identity. And basically, so we developed exactly what I showed. And in a, you can integrate it like in a very fast way. Under 5 minutes, we built a whole SDK, a whole experience about how we can use this zk-snark to authenticate people instead of using Google authentication, for example. So now the user has to like input his QR code, Aadhaar secure QR code, as in the form of a PNG, and then can connect. And then you have like a comprehensive interface saying what's the prover like is going to reveal to the verifier. And so now you can see, like in that example, there is no selective disclosure, but the user is going to sign his proof with like his own Ethereum address, for example. So what are the use cases? So as I said, I wanted to convince you like that it's a good authentication mechanism. So you can target specific countries, specific ages. It's also like a way to have like anti-Sybil mechanisms on chain, because now you can securely bring your personal identity on chain securely through zk-snark. You can do KYC, so you can verify that a certain person, for example, comes from a certain region or a certain country. And you can also like bind it with some account abstraction to have like a wallet recovery mechanism based on like your identity. And we also did like a program before Devcon to incentivize like Indian hackers to come to Devcon. And so you were able to redeem like a discounted voucher if you were able to prove that you were from India using AnonAadhaar. What's next? Next, we are tackling DigiLocker. So basically, DigiLocker in India is the application where you can store all your official documents, your driving license, your degrees, your bank statements, and this is actually signed data. So we know how to snarkify it, and we know how to generate proofs about it. So now you can imagine like authentication mechanisms that are like very deep, but still have like a very strong privacy layer. And this is, so I'm working on AnonAadhaar, but here is like a sample of all the other digital identity programs that could be also snarkified. Thank you.
Thank you, Yanis. So we have 3 minutes to take questions. Anyone from the audience? Any burning question for Yanis? I have one gentleman over there and then one over here.
Hello. So I wanted to ask, by proving these ZK identities and only exposing data that is needed for an application, would you say that digital identity systems like this can be used in applications where government compliance is required for KYC purposes? Is that something that this project aims to solve?
Yes, I think that's a discussion that needs to happen. But basically what you're doing is that you have like the insurance, which is the government, and then you'll do like some kind of import. You're importing this data through a ZK snark verification. And then the question is like how you export it then. Like because as a government, like you generated a signature and then you receive this weird format like saying grow 16 whatever. They don't know how to handle that. So yeah, of course, like there is a lot of discussions about like what should be like the way to standardize this type of proof. How can it be consumed by a government or like another third party? So that's actually like something we are working on, and yeah, that's a good question.
And then the gentleman in the purple shirt.
Hey, firstly, thank you for creating AnonAadhaar. I think it helps a lot of people, including myself and so many other Indian developers to come here. The question I have is, I think Aadhaar is a great example, and I think the infrastructure for Aadhaar is set up for something like this. What about other places where digital identity platforms have not been set up generally? How would you see something like this coming up in those kind of countries?
Yes, that's a good question. So I think there are like the design landscape now that ZK is way more advanced. Like the design landscape is like quite broad. I would say that if you have like any form of like digital identities, like a signature inside of a document, that should be like the main way to go. But if you don't have that, you have other ways. Like for example, in Nigeria, they have like a secure endpoint, API endpoint that you can target, and they will give you like a signed response. Not a signed response, sorry, but you can like use, for example, something like TLS notary, which is like wrongly called ZK TLS, but you can generate a TLS proof that you have like some identity from this API. You can also use maybe ZK email to prove that you have an email that states that you pass through a KYC process from another provider. Yeah, and in that case, if you don't have all of that, I guess that other teams are like exploring like biometrics and this type of infrastructure to prove the fact that you're a human. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, then that's it for our question. I'm sorry, we're really short on time. Thank you again, Yanis. Let's give Yanis another round of applause.